The best radio station in the world. Is right here, right now.
Live from the heart of Ford City, Windsor, Ontario, you're listening to We Speak Radio.
We are live with the first live episode of Words of Justice. How exciting is this? Oh, Brenee's got butterflies in her seat. She's moving. It's audio, so I gotta narrate this for you. Brenee just did a whole visual for me right there. It's terrifying to be live. It's terrifying to be live in life. How scary.
Yeah, can't make any mistakes, right? No
How weird is that?
No rewind.
Sorry in advance.
No, we don't apologize. We roll with it. How weird is that? And Mohammed Chams, my good buddy over here, brought me a coffee. Thanks, Mohammed, for the coffee.
No problem.
That's what I like about you, dude. You're the kind of guy that I'm like, hey, bro, bring me a coffee. You're like, yeah, no problem, man. My pleasure. He said, my pleasure.
I
was like, what a classy man. Well, you gotta know my boy Mo.
There you go.
You gotta talk to the man in advance. You gotta have a plan like me. I was like, I'm not gonna have time to get a coffee, but this guy is.
I almost messaged you. What's a DD? I'm not a coffee drinker.
Yeah, but you're a smart guy.
I figured it out.
Double D.
There you go.
You could have brought me a bra, but hey, bro, you brought me a coffee. It's all good. So I want to introduce our new guest here. I'm gonna let her introduce herself and get a little nervous with you because that's exactly. I love the eyes you just gave me. Yeah. Welcome to Words of Justice. You are in the hot seat. You know why I do this? It's like personal training. Okay, let me just give you an explanation of what Words of Justice is because people keep bugging me what Words of Justice is. It's like Tony Robbins and Bruce Lee and John Lennon, if they all were combined into one person, they had a dream like Martin Luther King, and you threw that onto a podcast, that guy got jacked, did somersaults and cartwheels and punched things, and that is who I am talking to you, right? So I'm trying to explain who you are to you because you probably don't even know it. So when people sit down in my podcast, I'm trying to reveal to them, like they think they're coming onto my podcast to give me their expertise, but really I'm trying to let them reveal something to themselves while they're talking in the first honest conversation they've probably had like in their whole life.
Oh, a life experience.
Right? You're live with life. So tell me about you, but I don't want to know that other BS you told me before the podcast. I want to know, I'm Justice, I'm 29 years old, born in Cambridge, Ontario. That's not
the real stuff.
The real shit.
Natural.
All right. Well, I'm Brenee, Ouellette. I've got my 2 baby boys that are my world.
What's their names?
Take care of them, Cameron and Jordan. Shout out.
Jordan, you like it?
Yeah, my little men and my 120-pound beast, Coda.
Whoa. What kind of dog is that?
Argentinian Dogo.
Whoa.
So if anyone's got a female Dogo, I'm looking to breed them.
Whoa, pimping out your dog. Let's just talk about you for a second. Just pimping out your dog. Live. We're a live pimping dog.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I've always been business oriented, so I'm always looking for the next grind. Me and my friend Brandy, that's what we're working on now. I'd like to get more into the modeling and the podcasting and things like that, so that's what I'm here for, to learn from the great Justice.
The great Justice. Oh,
there you go. The professional.
My legend is preceding me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I don't know if I'm great yet, but I'm working on it for sure. I think if you do things that nobody else does on a daily basis and you take all the challenges, I think that's kind of what greatness is, right? So, like, if somebody calls me great, I take it as a compliment of my work ethic.
Exactly.
Right? It's like that's more of a work ethic thing. And so even when Brandy came on, I was challenging her. I said, and she used it on one of the next shoot you guys were doing there, where she said, I said, dragons fly higher than butterflies. They breathe fire too. So you want to be a cute little butterfly and do cute little things, cute. But what now? My question in Words of Justice is what now with everybody who comes on? So you were doing some business. You talked about a wedding business. You're talking about a podcast. Clearly you think that your personality is such that we need to know about it. So what is it about your personality that is so unique that I need to know about it? Ooh, hot seat. Oh, I love the questions.
Pause.
Oh, the curveballs.
Pause.
The
Simple
curveball.
What
question,
makes me
got the
awesome?
pause.
I don't know. I've got, like I said, I'm always driven. So from the time I wake up to the time I'm going to bed, I'm always constantly thinking of the next idea, the next big thing that I can get into. I get bored easily. I beat cancer last year, which was a crazy ass ride. Thank you. It was breast cancer.
So
that's one
thing. So you're a warrior.
I am. I like to think that was... there's a saying that I want to get tattooed on me. It says, you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only option. And that's true, because I get it everywhere. People, my friends are like, I don't know how you could do it. I couldn't do it. Like, you have to, you know what I mean? When you're presented with that dilemma, like, there's no other choice. I had children I had to think about, so there was it when they said there was a matter of removing your breasts or like more treatments, it was an easy decision. You just had to do what you had to do. So I don't think I'm any stronger than the typical person. I just had different situations handed to me. So the way I handle it is I try and find the positives in everything. So even throughout my diagnosis and my treatments and whatnot, instead of getting depressed and going nuts about it, I reached out to friends. I reached out to people who've been through it, who know more about it than I did. And with that, I found a lot more support and happiness than I guess the typical person would. And so I recognized the good things out of it, like the true friends that came out of it, the new friends that came out of it.
The true friends and the new friends. You know what's funny? The newer friends are usually the truer friends.
And that's exactly it.
I said my buddy, I like this guy. He's a hilarious guy. We have a connection. It's like we're old warrior souls or something. And I find that the people that I meet, sometimes I have this like deep connection, like we've known each other for a century. And other people that I've known forever, I'm always questioning them. I'm never quite sure of where their agenda is. And now I'm so clear about my agenda. That's why even with the podcast, I'm like, I'm trying to explore this. So I don't know you. I've never met you even before this moment, right? Now let me and this is a non-critical conversation, okay? So never take anything that I say as a critique. It's just a challenge. Take it as a challenge, sure. Okay. Challenge what you know, but don't take it as a criticism, as me coming at you negatively, never, just for the record. So you told me a bunch of things there. You told me a little bit about your past. So you went through a fight. Okay, me too. Been through some fights. Yeah. You like this and that and the other thing. All right, cool. You never told me what you bring to the world that's unique.
Oh.
You dodged all that.
I did, didn't I?
You did.
Just the passion for life. Just my overall happiness. I try and cheer everybody up that...
But now there's something you're not... Be a little less humble for a second. Think about it. Okay, I'll give you my response. If I was to tell you my unique thing that makes me an individual, I have a tenacity and an aggression that is unrivaled in anyone I've ever met. I've never seen... I can look anyone in the eyes and know that I'm the crazier animal. I'm the more aggressive beast, or more like primal person. In what sense? I'm a primal cardinal. I like to smash things, and I'm quite the beast. I love to
physically or in
There's
business.
Something like in me, right?
Okay.
There's like a demon in me, okay? Now that gives me the drive. That gives me the drive to do all kinds of stuff, and it led me to negative things. Now, the great thing in me is I have a problem-solving ability and a way to introspectively think about problems in a way that I can zoom out and see how everything fits together in a really unique way. Mm-hmm. And I mean very unique. I talk to a lot of bright people, and they usually will give me credit for that. Like how I linked on the other podcast, Aristotle teaches you this and Plato teaches you that. Mm-hmm. And if you temper that with a Socratean logic here, you throw a little Lenin love, you got to have a dream. So, each of these greats, you call me great, okay, cool, I appreciate that. But great is like being one part of the puzzle. And I think greatness, a lot of it has to do with how much you embrace your part of that puzzle honestly. So on the last podcast, we talked about Bruce Lee a bit. Bruce Lee is express yourself honestly, right? Mm-hmm. So the ultimate martial art, the ultimate practice or action part of the art. Martial is really action, not combat. It means like action.
Exactly.
And art means, expression. So action, expression, martial art, the truest martial art is to become yourself, right? So myself now is I'm a warrior, and now that warrior's direction is what? Podcast, music, food, supplements, training. These are in my wheelhouse. Talked about this on the last pod. These are my wheelhouse, and these are the things that make me kind of uniquely me. And then if I zoom out from that wheelhouse, well, what's the overall picture? Oh, I really like health, mental health, spiritual health, psychological health. So I've studied all of the aspects of health. So what I want to bring to the world is how can I bring that aspect of me to the world to inspire and affect everybody else around. Now, let me open it up to Mo. So what if Mo gives that exact same... If I give you the question of what Mo has uniquely to give the world, that's probably going to be gone through those awesome sons of yours. And, if you died tomorrow what everybody would be saying about this guy, what would be talking about?
I mean, honestly, it's
There'd
just
be some
it's a
stories.
passion to I wake up in the morning. You see in the wintertime, I love to go out there, just put a smile on people's faces. Used to go out there, clean snow for older people. It's a passion for making a better world, a better city, for example, better environment. Yeah, I do have the 4 boys. You want to also build their future. Think, hey, what do you want your kids to grow up in? What did you grow up in? What can we do better? And watching people be happy with the ideas you come up with that benefit all. Nothing's self-benefiting, because when you do something for yourself, you're really not getting anything out of it and no pleasure out of it. But when you see people around you that are enjoying your ideas, or how you're making people around you just enjoy life, because we've got, a good, bright future ahead of us, our kids, everything. You want to set that up for them. So getting up in the morning, putting that plan and vision, obviously politics is a passion for me. Finding the right thing to kind of
see, but that's your passion. But why you specifically? Why are you good at politics? And that's my point that I try to get on this podcast. Is we're so consumed with the labels and the ideas are in like the idea. Everybody talks about ideas as if they're in a box, right? So there's a box. If we talk about boxing, that's this idea. If we talk about, like in anything, even politics, right? So my interests are this, and this. Okay, cool. But the person that is interested in those things is who, right? Like, I think okay. This is me barely knowing you, looking through my one eye, looking at Mo, looking in his eyes. I'm going to do my cold reading mentalist trick here. What am I seeing from
reading
Mo?
on Mo?
Mo has a temperament that I don't have. I would like, if I was building a team of experts, I would want you on my team.
Thank you.
You have a calm temperament. You have a leadership ability. You have a better gift of diplomacy for me, right? Like, we're both interested in politics, but I think you're a much more seasoned person at getting your idea out. Like, you're great at getting your idea out, right? So he can formulate an idea in a way that the average person, he's not talking up, and he's not talking down, and he's not talking at.
He's relatable.
He's relatable.
You got to try to stay at that same level, obviously.
Right?
Because
Like, it's like you're not going down a level, up a level. You're just talking, and that's like your gift so far. So I've invited you for a couple of podcasts because I like that gift, right?
Like
if anything you can give, that's
he can be intimidating.
You sit down, but when you listen to, again, well-spoken, whatever, and then it makes you want to bring out these ideas of the hunger you've had. This is the, the passion's there, but what drives you to that? What drives you is obviously what you see around you. When you look at it, it's like, this is wrong. You've got to fix it.
You have to fix it.
And you got to find that. Just like you beat cancer, for example. That's a very tough thing to do. And motivation being positive is the best thing. Yes, your environment, whatever it is, but it's easy to kind of just go down. And then you've learned a lot out of it, and now you want to bring what you've learned to others that may struggle through the same thing.
Exactly.
It is the next step, though, right? First you find a motivation, and then you may even become an inspiration while doing that. And you seem to be at the phase, and I see a lot of people, like, as a trainer, I usually bring the people that find me specifically, okay? Lots of trainers, lots of kinds of trainers. Personal trainer means a lot of different things, okay? So my specific thing is I always can get people out of the mind traps they're in. I was a 16-year-old trainer training people in the gym, benching 500 pounds, going, you're self-limiting yourself. They're like, what do you mean you're self-limiting yourself? I just beat cancer. 17 years old, just won the Mr. Windsor trophy. I'm training every day with chemotherapy. I'm throwing up in the garbage can and then benching 500 pounds. And everybody's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? You know what it is? I'm more alive than you. That beastliness that I was, a lot of people when I say that, they think I'm like doing some weird boasting. No, it's not. That's not what I'm explaining. If you come see me train or you work with me, come work with me for a 72-hour day. Just come work at Justice.
Just for a couple hours.
If anybody wants to come and keep up at my pace, I've broken every single human that's ever tried to go at my pace, right? And what that does is, yes, it breaks the weak. But for the strong, when you see me still doing barricades from the Walkerville night market at 3 a.m, when everybody's exhausted, I've been there since 6 a.m. I put up those barricades. I tore down those barricades. I was there for each part of it. I like being the inspiration where that I'm not going to stop working. Period.
Brings and period.
And in a trainer, that's what you'd want.
In a person, that's what you want. In a dad, you want to know that I'm never going to be too weak to play with my kid. I'm never going to be too tired to take my wife out. I'm never going to, that's what it is in a person. So I don't try to be a trainer and I don't try to be anything. I just, as a person, as me, okay, as Justin, Justice, whatever you feel like calling me that day, that person is more determined to put that energy out. Like most people try to do, they conserve their energy instead of expel their energy. Yeah. Like during the snowstorm, Mo was out there with his truck and his boys or whatever, shoveling all the snow, and most people did the very minimum, shoved their little tiny path, went inside, and it's
can't handle the cold.
It's so terrible. Well, this guy was seeking it because he's a warrior. You were a warrior. You have 2 kids. You're a mom. Fuck it, I got to do this surgery. Cool. I had a Tesco removed. I can relate. We won't get right down that path for each of us, but I can get it. Okay, body parts are getting removed. Parts of my character, it's hard, right?
But I think that also contributes towards the amount of drive that you have, because you can't say the next trainer doesn't have the same passion, but you've been through a whole world of experiences that most people will never have gone through, and you've been told you could die. You know what I mean? So when you hear those words, it changes a whole lot in your life, and
you probably heard like
changes your
perspective.
Did you hear
you can or you will? Because I heard you will. You will. This is.
Oh
going
yes,
to happen.
I didn't. Mine was more of I could, but but even still, like just the C word is
just
scary
that word
enough.
right there. Yep, that word right there is enough to say I'm going to die. There's no return.
It's automatic, and it's an everyday thing. I'm sure there's not a day that goes by where you're not thinking. You know what I mean? It could come back. It could come back. It could be there. And that kind of gives you a little bit more motivation to do a little bit more, to want to see more, to want to experience more than the typical Joe next door.
The problem is that we have a shallow horizon. And what I mean by that is we fight the weakest enemy that we can perceive and call it the strongest that we have. So what people do is like, oh, no, I swear I cleaned my house today. Oh, it was so tiring. Okay, sounds fucking great, buddy. Sounds tiring. You seem exhausted, right? You want a trophy? You want a medal?
That's your basic.
Right? So people...
Come to my house after the kids have been there for a few hours.
The reason people like me exist is to say, okay, now what? I get it. You're a badass yesterday. But my coach has taught me that if yesterday doesn't mean shit today. Today you got to perform. Tomorrow you got to perform. The next day you got to perform. And every day is an investment in the next day and the next day and the next day. So it's like, that's why I don't call myself a cancer survivor. I try not to even talk about it too much anymore. I did when I first got it done. So you're very recent to this, and I think you should, by the way. Okay. When I first did, I did. And now I don't talk about it as much because I find that I like to disengage from it, and I like to make sure I am who I am. Even though I am my past in some ways, I'm also my future, and I'm also what I am not at the moment. So I am everything I was. I am everything I am not, because I could definitely be it if I try hard enough, right? So I've been from skinny to bodybuilder. I've been from all over different body types and sports and training, and came back from injuries that people are like, oh, you're done. You're never gonna one eye. You can't box. I challenge everybody who's listening.
Watch me.
You watch me. I'm sick of
everything's a challenge in life, right? You just got to get up, do it. You got to have that. Again, it's a passion, it's a drive. Never give up.
It is.
If you give up, you'll sit on those sidelines and you'll just find yourself. You set yourself a failure, basically, is what it is.
Well, almost every venture I've undertaken was everyone kept telling me how much I couldn't do it. All the reasons why I couldn't do it. None of the reasons why it would work. And it was like that. I smashed it. My business, I started with a free ad on Kijiji. And 7-8 years later, haven't had a bad year. This year, the photo booth, no one thought I could handle that, because it was one of those things, you don't know how to run a photo booth, you don't know camera, you're not a photographer, things like that. It's like, well, watch me. I got my photo booth on a Tuesday. I had my first event on a Saturday. I trained myself how to set it up, how to run it, how to design templates and everything in those 4 or 5 days, because it was something that I wanted. And everyone gave me all the reasons why it wouldn't work, and they were pretty good reasons: the money, the time, the kids. Like, it was all good reasons on paper.
Do you find that helps? So when people are more like, you can't do it, does that want you to do it even more?
For me personally, it does.
It drives you to want to do it more. You got to, I'm going to show you I can do it. Exactly. So it's almost like fuel for you.
It depends on the personality. As a trainer,
let my haters be my motivators.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as a trainer, you have to know your client. So some people I know, sometimes they're like, Mo, you're a fucking champ. Let's get this done, bro. Come on, champ. And other people are like, listen, you punk. You're just going to be a punk? You're just going to let everybody punk you, bro? My little sister does twice the push-ups you do on your best day, brother. Like, I have taken shit talking to whole other levels when it comes to training. Because you got to find yourself and I've made people bench 500, 600 pounds. When you get into that mindset, trust me, it's cute to go to your 100-pound bench press. It's a life-threatening endeavor to push 500 pounds, 600 pounds of your chest. You could die. You could actually die. If your spotters aren't there, if you're not there, if you're not psychologically aware, you're dead. Right? So I've done those kind of things where I'm like, okay, if I slip, like, my ribs are breaking and I'm dead, and then you unrack it and the bar's bending, you're like, oh fuck, and that fear, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast, fear, everybody's battling all this bullshit, but they need to just look whatever their fears are directly in the face. I do this.
Embrace it.
Embrace what I look at my fears a lot, and I say, "What are my?" And I said to Brenee, "What are your weaknesses? Don't work on your strengths. That's cute. You work on those as you go, but work on your weaknesses. Work on your fears. Take your biggest fears, like, man, I hate doing squats. Okay, I'm doing squats today. Man, I hate boxing. I'm joining a boxing class. Oh shit, I hate podcasts. I'm gonna be on every goddamn podcast I can find. Like, that's how I approach things, right? So people are say like, well, is it good to be a beast? Well, I don't know. It takes a lot of aggression to conquer fear. Like, there's a couple ways to conquer fear. It can be behind you, and you could use the fear itself to propel you forward. Like, holy shit, a bear's chasing me. I gotta run really fast. That's a way to let it do you. You know, there's another way. What Jeff said when he was on the podcast, that soldiers run towards the fight. So you could run equally fast towards the damn bear. And take that fool down, right? So there's a couple ways to look at it. So fear, you could let it propel you away or towards your problem, right? Now, in the short term, that running away might be okay, but that bear's still out there. Now you're hiding. Now every single step you take, every breath you take is all about, where's the bear? Where's the fucking bear? Did anybody see the fucking bear? Shit, man, there's a bear outside. Forever, right? And those are those bears that, and then what we do is we forget about the bear outside, and we decorate our prison bars. We actually put up bars in the window so the bear can't get inside. And then we love our inside so much, we get Amazon to deliver everything. 3 guys died from Amazon this week to fucking bears. And we don't care. We just get safer in our little, and it gets in a hobbit hole, and now it's just one room. And now it's just the bathroom with our tablet.
Especially right now, time and age, they're teaching all the kids kind of like,
run.
Fear.
You can't be open anymore. You can't be open and say what we used to hear when we were younger. Like, look, I'm 48 years old. Back in my times, there was no such thing as what we called bullying. And look, bullying does exist. It is serious. Yes, I'm not going to downplay it. But at the same time, what are we preparing our kids for? Like, when I was in grade school, I can fail. I can repeat grade 4. Right now, you can't fail a kid. You're playing sports. Okay, we're not going to keep track of scores. Why?
Oh, it's a feeling.
Well, wait a minute. What happens when you get older and then you're all of a sudden in a work environment, you go get a interview. Oh, by the way, you're not hired. Well, what do you mean?
Mommy's
you
coming into the interview.
You got to build them up for that. And right now, I think they're taking that away in schools and education. They're teaching everybody to kind of be just nice.
Okay, I wanted to talk about that anyway. So you guys are both parents. How old are your 2 kids?
5 and 7.
How old are your 4 kids?
The oldest 13, the youngest is 8.
Oh.
Right in
Okay,
between.
when you have to say oldest and youngest, that's when you're right, I got 1 kid, bro. He's about to turn 2 next week. Yeah. All right, it's easy to keep track.
It's a collection.
Yeah, so I was talking on Facebook today, and I won't name names, but one person put up that the the parents are going to start getting punished for certain things that kids are doing. Like if they're taking it to the next level. God. And so that sparked a debate, obviously. And I said, okay, well, I think that parents definitely should take more accountability for the kids because they don't. And they keep blaming schools, which they do. And the schools can only have so much power because they go home for 16 hours of the day. Okay, so what they're coming to school from is also a big problem. So the parents are blaming the teachers are blaming the parents. Yeah. Everybody's blaming each other. Right?
No one's taking responsibility.
Right. So here's what we were talking about earlier. My personality, I like to zoom out and say, okay, hold on. Where does this actual problem lie? It definitely, our culture is no longer designed for like Family Matters, Full House kind of thinking. No. We no longer teach like go home, spend time with your parents, do your homework, clean your stuff, go with your friends, play hockey, do whatever you're going to do. But then like go to bed and get up and do a good job at school. Like we were watching Air Bud and Mighty Ducks and heroes. Be
outside,
a hero, try hard, work hard, be a champion.
Until the streetlights came
right?
on.
And when you bring that up, at 4 boys in school, you're bound to get a principal calling you. You're bound to get a vice principal, anybody calling you. I teach my boys the same way, and I tell the school officials, I got a policy of strike 1, 2, and 3. Strike 1 is if somebody comes at you, warn them. Just say, listen, back off. Strike 2 is, listen, if you don't, I'm going to go talk to a teacher. I don't teach them to go right away, as they would say, rat them out, whatever it is. You also want to build them, give them also a that feel like they're a person as well, and they got to say. Strike 3 is if you really get attacked, you have the right to defend yourself, and I'll stand behind you. I'm going to let my kid know that. And I just had that problem last week where, one kid was pushing around my little kid, and then the other one steps in, and he just said, hey, you can't do that. The other kid turns around and drops the F-bomb and punches my kid in the nose. So my kid comes telling me, here's what happened, and I pick up the phone, call the principal, 1, 2, 3, here's what happened. Principal, well, listen, your son's been in my office a few times. So is he automatically guilty?
Yeah, right.
He did exactly what I told him. But I'm not going to let it watch a kid hit him. He's got to strike back at one point.
That's the problem.
So I got kicked out of, pardon me, I didn't mean to cut you off,
Brenee. That's part of the problem, though. It's the schools, it starts with the overcrowding, first of all. The schools are so overcrowded that there's no way that a teacher can keep an eye on 30-something kids every second of the day. So when you have a situation in the corner where Johnny's hitting Susie and Susie runs to the teacher and tells, the teacher's not as involved in the punishment as they should because they didn't see it. They're not. It's
or the
more,
last person that's struck gets punished.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
can I just interject with the whole idea of punishment's the wrong way to teach a kid anyway?
Absolutely.
You know, like, okay, I teach kids, guys, and I teach them. Okay, well, debate me in a second. Let me give you my information for my idea. I'm going to leave here to teach a kids class, and I teach kids that have behavioral issues quite often. I was a kid who got kicked out of 2 high schools. Why? I defended myself against bullies. So I got hit with a steel bar twice. I got attacked with a weapon in Herman, got kicked out. I got attacked with a weapon in St. Mike's, got kicked out. I now teach how not to get attacked with weapons in schools. Okay, full circle. All right, so I have a little bit of a place to speak on this specific.
But how do you
Done, you've
teach
seen
that? What's your method?
I had
for that?
I had to personally evolve my logics to be able to explain it to them, the logics that I didn't have when I was them. And nobody, when I was them, was explaining to me what I now know, which was how to be strong without proving it in a competitive or aggressive negative fashion. How to stand up and look someone in the eye and have that stance and be ready to do whatever it is you got to do, but still have compassion that that person doesn't need a broken leg, that that person doesn't need to get his teeth destroyed. Because when I was a younger person, I'm very strong and I'm very trained, and I've always been that way. My dad trained me very well. And so I always thought, oh yeah, it's no big deal to just left hook a guy. Yeah, but then it's $2,000 in dentistry that just put his parents out of work, but the consequences. So I had when I was about 18, 17, my first personal training client. I won't name him, but he was the head of psychology from the University of Windsor at the time. And he would walk by me, and every single day he would say, Justin, consequences. He would say one word, consequences. He would whisper it, consequences. So what I have to teach the kid is there are consequences for your actions. There are negative consequences, and there are positive consequences, and there are mostly positive consequences if that's what you choose to do. So when they come to my class, when you do 10 push-ups, you get a positive consequence. Good job, man. Great job. When you be a slacker, I'm not happy with you. I am disappointed. I don't like that. So we don't reward negative behavior, but it doesn't mean we need to destroy or punish for that same negative behavior. So there is a line where I need to be able to be your disciplinarian without being your dictator.
Exactly.
That's true, but in a school setting where there's kids feeding off of each other, and we can all admit it, kids are cruel. Kids can be very, very mean.
Sure.
So how would you explain to a 10-year-old
So here's
kid
a great one. So my history teacher,
why you
Herman,
shouldn't grab that kid's backpack and pull
here's a
him back
perfect way.
onto the ground?
Here's what the thing is. Sometimes you can go at it directly and say, hey, listen, Johnny, we're not going to do that. We don't do that here. We don't use violence to solve problems. That's not the way to do it. Sometimes that works, okay? Sometimes we got to be a little trickier. I had a history teacher who was a little smarter than that, okay? I was a little smarter than the average bear, so was my history teacher. He would give me books. There's now a series on Netflix or something. It's like about the Sword of Truth, and I have a tattoo here, the Sword of Truth, because of my history teacher, my grade 10 history teacher. He gave me books, and all of the books... R.A. Salvatore has a series of books, and it's all morality based on elves and dwarves. But it's real racism and morality and everything painted in this fantasy world. And then he gave this one where this guy carried a sword of truth, and his greatest power was truth, not the weapon itself, not the sword, not the stabbing, not the violence, but the truth that it carried. So he taught me, between my history teacher and my psychology professor friend, they taught me in a combined fashion that there's consequences, and if you can act divinely, there are divinely good consequences, and if you don't act divinely, there are as evil as there is great negative consequences. But it really has a lot to do with you, and it's not a secret. It's not a law of attraction. It's a law of consequence.
But in a perfect world, every teacher would have the time to focus that kind of attention on every
They don't
student.
need to. It's your job as a parent to find the correct
as a parent,
teachers.
for sure.
No, so the teacher, this is my part of my argument, by the way, and we're going to take a break and get back to that argument. But just to finish that point, I said that yes, the teachers are responsible for teaching the curriculum that is designed by the provincial government that they are not designing. Okay, so that teacher did not design the curriculum. He is a person that works for a company that designed a curriculum. Okay, so you can't hold that person accountable. B, the parents have to get involved to change how the schools are dealing with our students, and what power we will allow them to have in dealing with that. Because if you cannot even touch the student at all without getting charged, then I don't want to go grab Johnny who's kicking Susie, because now I'm an assaulter of kids, and now I lose my job forever. So there's consequences to even the teacher's action, and we've made it so that the teacher's going to get punished. So we go the whole life from kid, if you do something bad, you're punished. Adult, you do something bad, you're punished.
Everybody's being punished.
Oh, everybody's being punished. We're all criminals. We all suck, right? Or we could think like humans, right? Okay, we'll come back with more words of justice, guys. Come Together really gets in the zone, eh? Isn't that the perfect one to get you back in the zone? Like, I'll take a break, I'm like, boom, come together right now. Over me. By the way, if you ever see me do this at karaoke, I do power slides and everything. I sing that so hard.
Karaoke too, eh?
Oh, I sing too. You don't know about me. I'm a very talented individual, have you know, miss?
I guess so.
Come on, slowly.
Slowly. I'm releasing.
Slowly
We'll be a documentary maker / singer / I can breakdance. You'd be surprised if I can. You don't know about me.
Good old breakdancing days.
B-boys, right? What happened to TV boxes and breakdancing? This is what I wanted to get into. I wanted to kind of start with a joke on purpose because we joked when we were kids. We breakdanced. Yep. We had fun. We had dances.
Skateboard.
Right? We had outlets.
Got hurt.
We got hurt.
Everything.
Yeah, we got hurt, and we rubbed some dirt in it, and we rolled around in it, and you got up
dirty.
and you did it.
And you moved on.
So we have this generation. It's like, you ever hear the saying, "Show me a." I've said this a couple times on the podcast. I want to beat it into the ground, but show me a great man that's the son of a great man. Usually doesn't happen. Like, for example, if Mohammed considers himself a great man, and so do I, then we have a real obligation to not be hard on our sons, but to expect more from our sons than we are able to do, because they have to be better than us.
Exactly.
Right?
I understand that.
And a lot of people don't have that idea for their kids. right? Our parents did. My dad used to tell me, like, you're going to grow up, son, and kick my ass one day. You're going to be a better fighter.
You're gonna be a big guy.
You're going to beat dad. And I did beat dad. So I got the crown and the title and took the torch. And now he's a respected old wolf, and I'm the new wolf. And he's still my number one coach. And there's kind of like there's like that succession, right? Like, you wanted to become more powerful than your parents.
Exactly.
That made them successful. Right, we don't do that anymore. It's like we want our kids to be as weak as possible. So we're like, I guess the meek will inherit the earth, and here they are. The meek are inheriting the earth. I think that people don't realize this, so I wanted to reverse the idea of bullying. I was bullied in school for being smart and strong. I was stronger than most. I was smaller than most. So I wasn't like big, but I was like crazy strong. And I was really competitive, so everything we did, I was obviously like, I want to do more than you. I want to do more push-ups. I want to be better. I want to be better. And I was constantly bullied for that. And because I'm like a know-it-all type personality where I digest information really well and I can spit facts like.
You won't be like that all like that.
I was always like
kids
that.
Kids looked at you like.
They hated me, right? Yeah. My mom used to always say I learned through osmosis, but I'm going to have just equally as many problems because of it. Right? Yeah. So people don't realize, like, that smart kid that's in school that's like, oh, I know the answer to this trigonometry question. And as soon as Reese says, hey, fucking smart guy, you think you're cool with all the questions. So the 85 IQ over there is beaten, which 50% of the world has 85 IQ, right? Yeah. So 50% of our kids have 85 IQ. And so they have like a 140 plus sitting on the other side of the room. Albert Einstein. Great spirits have always been violently opposed by mediocre minds. Right, so I think that we need to start looking at this and realize that, okay, guys, especially with great. So this is why I say, not everybody can come to my Just Warriors class, but those of great spirit definitely need to be in my class.
Right?
Does that make sense?
You got to bring it out.
You need to bring it out. Like, so those of great spirit, you're going to encounter violent opposition. You of great spirit will have great ideas. Those great ideas will take great effort. Those great efforts will have great enemies. Those great enemies will have great master plans against you, and they will be more deceiving and cunning than you ever thought. But you need to be stronger than all of them. So the way I'm trying to teach my son, myself, the people who are around me is be crazier than the crazy thrown at you. Be more powerful than the powers against you. Be willing to like yell at a hurricane and think you're going to stop it with your voice because you just don't give a shit. That attitude needs to carry out in all of the things. Like when he's out in the snow and you're cold, like, fuck it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
It's not passion.
Don't think about that.
Not even passion. Passion's like, I don't even like that word anymore because it's become like all these memes and all this new bullshit, fuckery, fakery, motivation bullshit.
That's a whole nother one.
That's all bullshit. That's a whole nother topic, but it's bullshit. All this fake motivation. Just because you use words doesn't mean you understand those words, right? So they say like passion. Passion is not like, I'm really kind of pumped up about this kind of stuff. No. It's like, I fucking wake up.
I love it. I want it.
I can't even
breathe it.
I breathe it. Like Sister Act shit. Like if you wake up singing, boy, and all you think about is singing, then you're a singer.
Do it.
If Mo wakes up and wants to change the damn world and fix the potholes, the second he wakes up,
get in there, those potholes, huh?
Get these goddamn potholes, and then he's got to get in there and get involved and give a shit.
It.
And we're not teaching our kids to give a shit. So I want to teach people how to be warriors, not worriers. There's a good meme for all you memers. Don't be a warrior, not a worrier.
Don't worry about anything. Just move forward, right?
So I wanted to ask you that question. So we got this city that's fallen apart. Obviously, the salt and the rain and everything destroyed it. This is for mostly Windsor people, but I'm sure everybody from every other city listening can absolutely relate to this because infrastructure has been destroyed in our cities.
Yeah, it's falling apart horrible. Right and left. And when you talk about potholes, it's unfortunate that it's always about money. We want to save money. You look at the majority of the cities across the country, Canada, U.S., across the world, salt no longer exists in the majority of the cities, believe it or not.
But we have Windsor salt.
Yeah, we have Windsor salt. You got to keep it going. But salt is destroying the infrastructure. It's not good for the water either when it's going back into the river, whatever it is. There's a lot of negative for that. So besides your infrastructure, you're talking health, just, again, your waters, what it does, damage all the way around. There's other alternatives that are cleaner, safer, environmentally friendly, cheaper.
There's roads that produce electricity in Montreal. There's roads that are absorbing water because they have a new concrete that absorbs water.
The concrete absorbs water, absolutely.
Right, so it's flood-proof concrete. So literally, if you made all the roads, there's know this, Brenee?
Yeah,
so
once the water hits it, boom,
the water goes right into the ground. It's insane. I'll share a video later on my Facebook, and like you'll see a water truck dumping water onto concrete, and you're like, where's the water going? So if we just replaced our roads, and Paul Sinnott put a great picture up earlier. It's like, AD 317, a road still exists. Our road built in 2016 or 2013 already destroyed. Right. It's like we build things with no future in mind, and I mean this in our physical structures, our social structures, our school structures, and then we know what we do. We attack like that issue. So everybody like argues about potholes, but nobody gives a fix.
No, they'll go in there, drop a little bit of gravel in there. I mean, honestly, listen, it's potholes is a issue. First of all, I mean, they'll say you can't do concrete roads because a lot of places use concrete. You can't use concrete because why? You're using salt. Salt will destroy the concrete. Get rid of the salt, you'll have a better problem. That's number one. Number two, there's no trackability or even tracking back who does the work for the city as well. The grade, what kind of quality they're putting in there to begin with, because it falls apart immediately. Right after. It can't handle
Auditor General.
And that's where, general auditors come in. Look, a general auditor I'm a business owner. Auditors are good. They point out your mistakes. They say, fix it. First thing they got to do is get rid of salt. Get into the new ways of getting rid of the snow and that. We don't get a lot of it in Windsor. We don't. But yet our infrastructure falls apart as if we get snow like Montreal or Toronto or London does. That has a lot to do with quality. There's nobody looking at who's doing the work. I mean, look at Dominion. You go up Dominion by the expressway. I remember when they first did the curbs around there.
That's where we live.
They did the curbs and asphalt in that area right by the expressway. And you'll see it till today. This is 8 years later. A week later, it fell apart. Nobody seemed to touch it. Drive down Dougal. The minute they poured the concrete there in the middle, it's got that stamped concrete. It's kind of just lifted. It's been like that, still like that today. So nobody goes back and checks the work. If you're doing the work on my house, I'm going to come back and say to the contractor, you messed up. I want this done. You got to give me a warranty. When your warranty is 90 days. Exactly. And there isn't, unfortunately. And that's where we come into our elected officials as well, right? You're in there, saying what you want to say just to get in and you're...
They're lawyers, not entrepreneurs. You and I completely share this notion of like, when you spend money, you need to make it make you more money. It needs to be an investment.
You want that return.
Exactly.
When I taught Sam how to be an entrepreneur, when we first started dating, she was an entrepreneur. She worked for another person as a chef. And then I taught her, I'm like, no, everything's an investment. The shoes you wear, the food you eat, the place you live, every single thing you do, the games you enjoy to calm your stress, whatever your vices are, those are all investments.
Investments, exactly.
So you need to understand the investments, and then you need to leverage those investments as best you can to net the most gain, especially when you have the least. When you have the least, you're most clever as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
I like to be in famine mode a lot of times. I like to not carry a wallet. I like to not have $1 on me. Like $0.
Then you get more creative.
Then you got to figure out how to get yourself out of it.
Love it.
Yep.
It makes you more creative as an entrepreneur. You walk around $1,000 and you're probably like, whatever. I'm a baller. I don't need anything. No. Don't put the money in your pocket. Don't even carry the wallet.
And then try moving forward.
And then now you're an entrepreneur now. Yeah, don't even have keys. You can't even go home. You need a hotel tonight.
Figure it out. Reality, and that's what you like. With all the respect to lawyers, the lawyers got the degrees. You're a lawyer. Go do what a lawyer does. You're a teacher.
Talk about shit.
Yeah,
talk about stuff and not solve anything.
And that's the thing. It's all about just hyping it up. Here's what it is, and here's who you have running your city. A lawyer should be arguing cases. An investor should be running a city. And I personally say, and I've always said it, a city should never invest into anything that's supposed to make you a return. Your job is to sell your city to investors to come in and pump the money in here. And this is the way it's no cost to the taxpayer. And let the investors do what they do best. And you do what you're supposed to do, run a city. Right. How do I make this an attractive city? How am I going to get you to say, bring your money here? I mean, look at that gentleman from Toronto that came down on Chatham Street, bought that whole block, was shut down. They would not let him move forward. And then you read it.
Yeah, I won't get too much into that, but there's also people that come down and they have some nefarious purposes and some crazy high rents, and they're not doing their thing, and there's no accountability to that either. So you're on the same thing.
I mean, as an investor, if he's going to sit there and think he's going to get his Toronto rents, it's not going to happen either. He's going to be waking up to reality and saying it's not.
But he can. And have you
anything's possible.
Have you looked at Kijiji or?
Yeah, but I own a business on Chatham Street. That whole side of Chatham he's talking about is still empty. But you know
it's
why?
Still empty.
They gave me an offer. You know what I told them? Bupkiss, get out of here. You know why? It was way too expensive. Trust me, real entrepreneurship is not like, it's not theoretical.
Long-term.
It's not theoretical, it's real dollars. When you're talking real dollars and cents, you got to make sense. So the people in this city, they don't really make sense. Like, okay, so we give tax breaks for leaving empty buildings.
Exactly.
So it makes a lot more sense to leave a building empty than to rent out this piece or this piece to lose your tax breaks. So you're like, okay, do I leverage the $2,000 of this one thing, or do I take my tax break of $5,000 for the whole building? Right? Mo, come on, you're better than this. right?
It's the incentives, and that's what I had mentioned the last time, right? Incentives are the problem. When you're getting rewarded more for leaving it vacant, and that's where the wealthy take advantage of it. I'll get a better tax break on leaving it vacant. Some say, well, why don't you rent it for cheaper? Well, no, wait a minute. I can write it off as potential rent of this much or whatever it is. City council will tell you, well, that's not in our hands. I have no control over it. Now, Toronto just implemented something that's really good for Toronto. It's not necessarily what's good there is good for us. Where they've got their older buildings or whatever it is, they've reduced the property tax to keep renters coming in because they are the older buildings and they're under the heritage protection. One of our councillors said here, that's an excellent idea for Windsor. It's not for Windsor. We don't have the population here paying those kind of taxes. We don't have that revenue. You've got to pay property tax to make it. I came out with an idea which they laughed and mocked at, saying, bring down or no building permit fees in older areas, downtown, whatever areas that we need to start revitalizing. Don't charge that $20,000 per. Don't spend $20,000 on a permit just to build. Let them demolish completely, rebuild. Long term, where's your long term? I let you go with $20,000 permit fee, but now you built a new property that's going to be there for the next 50 years. You're paying property tax now for the next 50 years on it. So now this is long term investment. I dropped $100,000. What's my long term vision? And this is the problem our current administration lacks.
They're trying to pull that money out. That $20,000 that they're pulling out, leave it in the system for a minute and let it circulate. Let that $20,000 go to the hardware store, go to the lunch for the guys that built. Like that money goes to little restaurants like mine. That $20,000 that they didn't pay to the permit,
so it goes to the tax,
and we spend it on fucking Christmas lights and dumb shit. Yep. You know what I mean? And I mean that passionately. I said exactly like that, articulately as such.
I love Christmas. I love the lights. I love the it's exciting. But when I look at areas like Remington Park for the past 12 years, they have not spent a single dollar on there. Yet we have a $50 million, $100 million thing that Mr. Francis wants to do in South Windsor to cover the ditch there. But you've got other areas that don't have sidewalks. Remington Park has had, I don't know how many kids have been hit by cars, killed, whatever it is. It's terrible. But again, it's the voter, right? The voters don't come out. They know you don't vote. They don't.
So this is the point of this like things like this podcast. Brenee, if you make a podcast, one of the best things about it is you get a platform to slowly maybe get people of the lower age demographic to get involved in this shit. Stop complaining on Facebook and get fucking voting.
So much is exactly as. I've got a few things going for me. I'm a black woman, so that's too many people have fought and died for my right to go out and vote. So
I can't even talk now because now I'm white privileged and now you have a double minority. I just got fucking censored.
You're the minority right now. You're the minority.
Because I'm the minority now in this podcast.
But it pisses me off on so many different levels when I see, it was voting to, like when I see the posts that people don't vote. And I don't know if it's this city, this country, but they don't.
Yeah, but they
don't.
Look
at the real reason why they don't vote. I'll tell you,
it's laziness. It's pure laziness. I don't know who to vote for because you haven't done your research.
Even research, I'll be honest with you.
Not even
when I've talked to people.
You got to know who you're voting for, what they're saying.
You'll never know who you're voting for.
Read behind the lines.
But you'll never know who you're voting for. You will never know who you're voting for because guess what? I'll stand here right to your face and I'll tell you, I'm going to do this. I mean, we had our Ward 10 councillor right to the Windsor Star. He said, well, I said what I had to say just to get elected.
He said that.
And he said it clearly on quote. He says 100%. It's in the paper.
Hashtag Bradley
and this
quotes.
is, in 2014, I went up to the municipal affairs and I'm like, we can't have 4 years. 4 years is a lot of damage you could do. We need to keep 3 years. And we also want recall rights. Well, we can't give recall rights. No, you need to give recall rights. You can't tell the voter, okay, well, you screwed up. Next 3 years, this guy's guaranteed a seat for 4 years. Now, your voice is now going to be heard 4 years from now. No, you can't do that. So you want to bring that. Now, when I knock on your door and try to say, you're a politician, I'm not a politician. I'm not. This is what drove me to this because I'm sick of people like that.
If you're not aware, Brenee, he's ran for council a few times.
I'm running, yeah. And
he will be running again for the record.
And I'll be running again. And right now, I'm pushing the same thing. I'm writing another letter to the municipal affairs because now it's becoming bigger. It's becoming hotter. Why? Because it's on a federal level now. Now the federal level's pissed off and upset at what's going on. Conservatives, what a mess. We need recall rights. Wait a minute. We asked for recall rights a long time ago. And I'm not going to be able to get it before the next election. I'm not. What I'm going to end up doing the next election is saying is I'm going to bring in a recall right for Ward 10. Well, how are you going to do that? You got to pass it through council. I'm going to do it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to lie, cheat to you. I'm going to pay for the by-election. That's about $150,000. So now if I'm going to sit here and knock on the door and tell you, here's what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. But if I'm going to sit there and tell you, I'm going to do this and not work on it. Now, if I tell you I'm going to get rid of something, I'm going to drive to do it. I'm going to be lobbying. I'm going to work hard to do it. Can it be done? With a good fight, it can.
Nothing can be done.
It's not like you have the final decision in
my job is to
the things
fight
that you wanna
for it.
fix.
I'm going to fight for it. Now, if I sit back and tell you I'm going to do this and then don't do it at all, then you have the right to kick me out.
Yes.
Because I lied to you.
Yes.
And I'm not going to sit there and lie to you. If I'm going to tell you I'm going to do something, I better do it.
The problem is I want to see your hands dirty. Like, I'm somebody who may run for council even this election. They keep pissing me off. I'm going to run myself because I'm getting mad now.
And that's
Because
what gets you to do it, because you get so
you
mad,
get
you get angry.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. I need some votes
I'd
out
still
here.
do my research on you, though.
Part of it, do your research, and you'll find out that I'm a goddamn badass, and I would kick all their asses. And if they want to stand up in a conversation with me, they better bring their truth, because I'm going to find it out of them. But they realize they're not even good conversationalists when it comes right down to it. These guys are just in there with their talking points, making their checks from all their different positions they sit on, crying about the check that they already get. Give me $26,000 to $40,000 extra.
I'll show you what I can do.
And I'll do it. But you know what? I'll do it for free. Yeah. I'll do that shit for free. Make me councilman, make me mayor right now. I'll do it for free.
And then when you throw that line in there, they
There's
tell you,
his
oh, this guy
campaign
just
right
wants
there.
it. But no, people have tried that before. People have said, I will get, but then here's what happens. The ones prior to you have failed you. You had a counselor prior to these 4 terms that stole money from the city and didn't pay it back, although he said he'd pay it back. So now what happens to people? They look at everybody that knocks at their door and
Everyone's
say, you're
the
no
same.
different than them. You know what? No, I am going to be different. But I'll tell you one thing. If I'm not going to be different, I'm going to give you that voting power. I'm going to step down and do it. And this is what people want to see. But
Having
again,
that
what works
option.
against a good candidate is media. Media is controlled.
Yeah, but that has less control because it's shrinking. Traditional
shrinking.
media is
Windsor's
shrinking.
still old
media.
school.
Traditional media, this media is growing like a wildfire. This kind of media
Social
is more
media
powerful.
is ridiculous.
You can get as many listens on this podcast in the next 6 months as you do in Windsor Star, as you do in the Windsor Star News Cafe. I don't watch that stuff. Most people don't, especially my generation. So to Brenee's point, it's a privilege of especially old folks with some money to be able to take a nice Monday or Tuesday off in the afternoon. They've already had time to go register to vote. They get to go and you get their opinions heard. But for the average working class person working 70 to 90 hours a week, who's busting ass, bussing around, trying to just physically just commuting places is impossible to get your kids from school on time.
Right.
So now you need me to go
Busy.
vote. Why can't I do it from my phone number? Why
Everybody
can't
does
I
it.
do it based on my driver's license? I have to be registered as a citizen already. I have to get these documents already. Why is there another thing to vote? That's silly as hell. And it's a way of sneakily gerrymandering, because here's what happens. People of low income do not usually even have their regular ID figured out. They don't have things like that to even register to vote. So it's a way
They
to
give up right away.
disenfranchise poverty voters, and they have been doing that for a long time. So already, I'd like to come up with some better ideas, but they're not going to allow us to implement anything in the next election.
Because
it's going to take a few
it'll
elections.
take a
to
few
figure this
elections.
out.
Number one, number two, the stuff you talk about easy voting. Middle East right now. Middle East. Come on, we barely have a government over there. We can now vote from here over there. So the next election coming up there, I can vote off of my.
See, that's
phone,
crazy.
whatever.
Do you
Yeah,
think
I'm
that's
in Canada.
Do you think that's a better thing or a worse
It
thing?
is. You know why they don't want it here? Because you're going to get a higher turnout. And then what's going to happen is now Windsor's got one of the lowest turnouts for elections. And that whole
for
idea
sure.
of doing it the way they do it now is they need to continue to keep
Because of
it
the
that way.
how- we have
But
the highest amount of
you
poverty.
just said,
Yes.
you can vote from here out east. So you don't. What if you just have the nationality? You don't know anything that's going on over there. You're not experiencing anything that's
But
going on.
a vote is better than no vote.
Are you a citizen over there?
Is it though?
I'm recognized there because I'm registered there.
Is it
and
though?
there's a-
Because that's where
Oh, here's what
it,
yes.
it could be good and it could be bad.
No, because here's what I say: if you don't vote, you've just now voted for the person we don't want in there. So when somebody says, "Well, I don't like any of the
sure.
candidates," you know what? Pick the best of the worst.
No, that she's making the argument for the educated voter thing, and that's, by the way, this is a new social justice left thing. By the way, no. What I want is informed candidate. Okay, hold on for a second. Give me your top 10 who the fuck you think informed people are, and I'll shit on their idea right now. Okay, their logics are probably half-assed, half
Not
developed,
realistic.
and they don't have real fucking ideas.
Exactly.
So don't give me that shit. I hate when people do that. You're allowed to have your idea from the level you're at the position you're at. That's why we have that, by the way, because you want a person in poverty who's not at the level of the elite wealthy person to have the opinion of, no, shit isn't good right now. The worlds are not fucking good. Maybe they are in your area in South Windsor. Maybe you have
my area, they're
nice
not
things.
I'm just talking.
but in my
for sure.
area,
I'm just talking
you know,
about the method of voting. You were saying it's annoying that you can't vote from your phone.
You should.
But I understand why that's not a good idea.
Why?
You would have you would have people.
You'd have everybody voting, and everybody would have a say.
You would
Oh
have
my
a lot of
fucking
people
God.
voting, but you would also have a lot of fake people voting. You would have like.
And if you think right now our system that we have currently is a good, it's not. It's,
no, I'm
would
not
it
saying.
so rigged,
I'm not saying it's perfect, and there can't be anything going wrong with the current
The
system.
Russians already just influenced the entire.
But it would make it a
American
lot easier to
we
do
want
it.
more voters to turn out. When you have more voters, your candidates will be more serious. I
Make
think.
it mandatory. Offer
That-
incentives.
now-
Do something like that rather than
Nah, see, mandatory
making it
voting-
digital.
Mandatory
where-
is going to be too difficult. What I want to see on the ballots, which I spoke with the municipal affairs just recently about this, is on the ballot I want to see I vote for nobody. So at least we know who. Some people don't vote because they don't want anybody, but I want to know how many
Undecided.
didn't go. Undecided votes.
No, and you're right. And the technology of what we do in our processes have to catch up. And the problem is, just to kind of finish this thought, because we're going to wrap up today's episode, is just we haven't caught up to where we have to where we have landed. We have landed in 2018 with this technology around us and hoverboards and jets and this and Iron Man suits and DARPA dogs and all this crazy shit. We don't even understand anything. We don't understand how to educate ourselves, how to feed ourselves. We're just learning about gluten. We're just learning.
Everything's
learning
brand
about
new.
basic shit. And we're still, and what I don't like is these educated voters, right? These educated voters are on high horses. If you think that your opinion is so amazing, I would like to introduce you to my 10 smartest friends and think you can go through the gauntlet. I promise you can't. The people that think like that need to start thinking differently and open up their logics, because there is no educated voter. There's just a
There
voter.
isn't.
There's just a voter, and they're at where they're at, and they have perspectives you don't, and you have perspectives that they don't, which is why we want the conglomerate of all of the opinions, and we want the best cross-section. So I would love to see a 60% instead of a 30%, right? Because you know how you beat the other 1%? Building a new 1%.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we don't need to sway all these voters that are never going to change their opinion. We just have the new voters that have new opinions to start voting, and it will naturally turn the scale of justice to the more balanced
Where it should be
position.
balanced out.
Right.
Right? Thank
The
you guys
younger
for coming
people have
on,
a
by
whole
the way.
different perspective on life than the people that are actually going out there and voting right now.
Well, it's crazy what happens when you listen to both sides of an argument. It's what we need to start doing. It's not both sides of an argument. It's both sides of a problem,
yeah.
and we are going to derive a solution from these two ideas.
Put them together.
Right? On that, guys, I appreciate you both coming here.
Thank you very much for
Another,
having us.
another fun Words of Justice, and we will see you next time.